Would you be friends with someone who ignored you or acted like they didn't even know you when other people were around? I'm guessing no. You might still care about them, but if that's the way someone treats you, I think we can agree that they are not a real friend. Matthew 10 has this, on the surface, kind of a strange story, but it has some really amazing encouragement sitting just beneath the surface. After Jesus has chosen his 12 apostles, he sends them out to Jewish cities, telling them to go and share the good news with the lost ones of Israel. So it's like this spiritual rescue mission they're going on. And he tells them to start doing the kinds of things that he's been doing: healing the sick, raising the dead, casting out demons. These are all displays of God's love and power, and that sounds incredible, but he also gives these other instructions that seem a little odd by most standards, like don't acquire any money, don't pack a bag for your journey, and don't take any extra clothes or shoes. And while you're staying with somebody in the town, preach the good news, but if the town doesn't accept you, don't argue, don't give up, just dust yourself off and move on. So, okay, spiritual rescue mission, sounds cool. But not having money and not having to change the clothes, that's weird, but these are the apostles, whatever, it's no big deal. But if those instructions, weren't weird enough, Jesus goes on to tell them that he's sending out the apostles as sheep among wolves, which, is great if you don't like sheep, but for the sheep, that sounds like a terrible idea. And he tells them that bad stuff is going to happen to them. They're going to be beaten. They're going to be thrown in prison. He explains this persecution by saying that a disciple is not above their teacher. So, if bad things are going to happen to the teacher, what terrible things are they going to do to the teacher's servants? So at this point, he's sending out the apostles, seemingly unprepared by physical standards, to preach the good news, but he tells them that they're going to get rejected and mistreated. So, why go? What possible motivation could there be for going on such a tough trip to rescue people who not only don't want to be saved, but they're going to be actively hostile towards you? Jesus explains by saying, don't be afraid of them. Even if they have the ability to kill your body, they have no power over your soul. Only God has the power over your soul. So he's the one you need to be concerned with. He goes on to say that 2 sparrows are sold for a penny. Basically, sparrows are nearly worthless. But God still knows when one of them falls to the ground. So God knows you. He sees you, right down to the number of hairs on your head. He knows you better than you know yourself. So if he knows you that well, and if he cares for you that much, and if he's the one with ultimate authority and power, then what do you have to be afraid of? Jesus gives 2 options. Option 1, everyone who acknowledges him before people will be acknowledged before God. Which basically means if you share the good news of God's kingdom with other people, then Jesus is going to recognize you before God. But option 2, whoever denies him before other people will be denied before God. If you refuse to share the good news, then Jesus isn't going to recognize you before God. Now, that might seem harsh at first, but if we aren't willing to claim Jesus in front of other people, why should he claim us before God? We're like that person who's being the bad friend and ignoring or pretending like we don't know Jesus. If we really believe Jesus is the Son of God, then why would we be ashamed or embarrassed to share the good news about him? So this passage starts out with this rescue mission to go and to share the good news with all the lost in Israel. But the interesting part is that by the end of the section, we see that it's not the ones who only hear the word who are united with God, but rather the ones who believe the word and take part in the word who are acknowledged before God and thus united with him. It might look like Jesus is sending the apostles out unequipped for this journey or that he's putting them in danger, but really he's already given them everything they need. They have the ability to show people who Jesus is and tell them the good news about him. And doing this actually works towards saving them from danger. They don't need to depend on having other stuff to be successful. Also, being successful isn't about getting everyone to believe. It's about those generous displays of God's love and pointing other people towards Jesus, who is God's ultimate display of love. And even if no one listens, we can dust off and move on. And even if people mistreat us or do evil to us, we have confidence that life does not find its meaning in physical things. God has the final say, and if we are living a life claiming Jesus, then Jesus is going to claim us. So, do you believe in Jesus? And if you do, then what do you do next? You already have everything that you need to show people who Jesus is. Pray that God will help you find ways to share your faith in Jesus with others. Then get out there and share.